lazy gentlemen. Let me start by saying this. Life has a way of throwing unexpected moments your way. One of those moments is when someone who has been silent suddenly reaches out. You find yourself standing at the crossroads of emotions, wondering how to respond. Patience and self-respect are two powerful qualities that are essential in every aspect of life, especially when it comes to relationships. When someone reaches out to you after a period of silence, it can stir up a multitude of emotions. You might feel confused, hurt, hopeful, or even angry all at the same time. However, in moments like this, patience and self-respect can be your guiding lights. These qualities allow you to make thoughtful decisions, protect your emotional well-being, and ultimately ensure that you are not settling for anything less than you deserve. The first step in responding to someone after they've been silent is to take a pause. This pause, however brief, is crucial because it gives you space to process your feelings and evaluate the situation. It's tempting to respond immediately, especially if you've been waiting for this moment, but quick reactions are often born out of emotion rather than reason. Patience allows you to step back and take a breath. Instead of jumping into a conversation out of a sense of urgency, you can respond when you feel ready, not driven by the pressure of the moment. When you're patient, you're also giving yourself the time to reflect on the entire situation. Silence can be a complicated thing in relationships. Sometimes it's a result of misunderstandings, unresolved conflicts, or emotional exhaustion. Other times, it can indicate a lack of commitment or even a person testing your boundaries. No matter the cause, patience gives you the chance to reflect on what this silence truly means for you. It's a moment to think about whether the relationship as it stands is something you want to rekindle or whether it was a chapter of your life that has already ended. Instead of diving back into a situation without fully understanding it, patience helps you to ask yourself, is this something I need in my life right now? Do I truly want to engage again? Self-respect plays an equally important role when navigating this situation. When someone reaches out to you after silence, there is a temptation to revert to the old dynamic and accept them back into your life without question. However, self-respect means understanding your value and not settling for anything less than what you deserve. If this person's silence caused you pain, disappointment, or confusion in the past, self-respect encourages you to not simply fall back into old patterns because it feels familiar. Instead, it asks you to consider if the relationship aligns with your worth, your values, and the life you're building for yourself. Self-respect means setting boundaries, not out of spite, but out of love and care for yourself. It's about recognizing that your emotional and mental well-being are not negotiable. If someone who has been silent has not taken the time to address why they were absent or why they left you hanging, responding immediately could open you up to more hurt or confusion down the line. Patience gives you the clarity to assess whether the other person has genuinely changed or if they are simply reaching out because they are comfortable knowing you'll be there. Moreover, patience and self-respect work together to protect you from emotional manipulation. Sometimes people may reach out after a period of silence because they expect that you will welcome them back without question. They may assume that because of the history you share or the emotional investment, you will immediately pick up where things left off. This is where self-respect becomes an armor, allowing you to protect yourself from being manipulated into accepting less than what you deserve. Just because someone is reaching out does not mean they are ready to offer you the level of respect, effort, or commitment you need. Self-respect is about understanding that your value does not fluctuate based on someone else's attention or approval. In this context, patience and self-respect also help you keep a level of emotional control, which is essential when responding. When you've been through a period of silence, emotions can run high, and it's easy to react impulsively. Responding to someone with heightened emotions, whether it's anger, frustration, or even eagerness, rarely leads to productive conversation. Patience and self-respect help you avoid knee-jerk reactions that may cause more damage than good. They give you the space to think and process your emotions before speaking or acting. This not only ensures that your response is measured and thoughtful, but it also demonstrates your emotional maturity and your understanding of your own worth. Furthermore, patience and self-respect remind you that you are worthy of love, respect, and effort in a relationship. You don't need to chase after anyone who has gone silent or left you questioning where you stand. When you respect yourself, you recognize that love and affection should be mutual, and they should come from someone who values you, your time, and your emotional energy. If the silence was caused by the other person's lack of effort, then patience and self-respect help you recognize that you do not need to beg for their attention. You deserve someone who actively chooses you every single day, not just when it's convenient for them. In the end, when someone reaches out after a period of silence, patience and self-respect give you the space to make the decision that is best for you. You don't have to rush to respond. Take your time, reflect on your feelings, ask yourself the hard questions. And don't be afraid to protect your heart. Self-respect means that you don't lower your standards or settle for less just because someone is now knocking at your door. You are not obligated to respond immediately, and you are not obligated to let someone back in just because they reached out. What matters most is that your response, whatever it may be, comes from a place of self-love, clarity, and respect for who you are and what you deserve. Self-evaluation is an essential component of navigating any relationship, particularly when faced with the situation where someone who has been silent suddenly reaches out. When that moment comes, it's easy to be overwhelmed by emotions and make snap decisions. However, taking the time to evaluate the relationship, how it was, why there was silence, and what you want moving forward ensures that your response is thoughtful, grounded, and true to your needs. Self-evaluation is the lens through which you can examine the situation objectively without being swayed solely by feelings or external pressure. The first step in self-evaluation is to acknowledge your feelings. It's completely normal to feel a mix of emotions when someone returns after being absent, especially if their absence caused you hurt or confusion. You might feel relief, frustration, anger, or even excitement about the possibility of reconnecting. However, acknowledging these feelings without allowing them to dictate your response is crucial. Self-evaluation begins with recognizing your emotional state and asking yourself why you feel the way you do. Are you eager to reconnect because of genuine affection, or are you driven by the fear of being alone? Are you hoping that this person has changed, or are you simply afraid of letting go of what you once had? Understanding your feelings will guide you in determining whether responding to the person is truly in your best interest. It helps you separate your desires from your needs, ensuring that your response is driven by what will truly serve your long-term emotional health. If the silence was painful and unresolved, then the person reaching out might stir up emotions of hope or longing. However, self-evaluation helps you ask the hard question: has anything really changed, or are you simply seeking closure on your terms? Often silence can signal a deeper issue, such as lack of communication or emotional immaturity. It's important to ask yourself if you are willing to go back to a dynamic that may not have been healthy or fulfilling for you. Self-evaluation allows you to honestly assess whether this person's reappearance is a genuine opportunity for growth or simply a temporary distraction from the reality of what the relationship was. This leads to the second critical aspect of self-evaluation: examining the patterns in the relationship. Relationships rarely exist in a vacuum. They are built on the dynamics that both people contribute. When someone reaches out after being silent, it's important to evaluate not just their actions, but also the overall pattern of behavior that led to the silence in the first place. Was this a one-time occurrence where external factors such as work, family, or personal struggles played a role in their absence? Or was it a pattern of emotional inconsistency where you were often left wondering where you stood? This evaluation helps you determine whether the other person is truly capable of the kind of relationship you want, or if their silence was just another chapter in a larger pattern of neglect or emotional unavailability. Additionally, self-evaluation involves recognizing your role in the relationship. While it's easy to place the blame entirely on the other person for their silence, self-evaluation requires you to also look inward. Have you contributed to any of the issues in the relationship, whether through miscommunication, unmet expectations, or unhealthy attachment? This isn't about blaming yourself, but about taking responsibility for your part in the dynamic. Recognizing your role doesn't mean accepting blame for everything that went wrong, but rather acknowledging how you may have shaped the relationship. This self-awareness allows you to enter a potential conversation with the other person from a place of growth rather than defensiveness or regret. You can approach the situation more clearly, knowing what you need to work on for the future, whether that means communicating better, establishing firmer boundaries, or seeking a healthier relationship dynamic. Evaluating whether the silence was a red flag or an opportunity for growth is another crucial aspect of self-reflection. Silence in relationships can signal different things. It could mean space for personal reflection, a break from an intense dynamic, or unfortunately, emotional withdrawal. The key is determining whether that silence was a time of personal growth or a sign of deeper issues that remain unresolved. If the other person has not communicated the reason for their silence or taken responsibility for it, then silence might simply be avoidance. In such cases, reaching out to reinitiate communication can be a pattern of emotional avoidance rather than a sign of personal growth or readiness for a healthier relationship. You also need to evaluate the expectations you're placing on the situation. Often, people who've been silent return with an expectation that things will pick up where they left off. This assumption can lead to confusion, unmet expectations, and emotional distress. Self-evaluation allows you to be realistic about your expectations and ensure that they align with the reality of the situation. Are you expecting the same person who ghosted you to come back fully changed and ready to invest in a relationship? Or do you see the situation clearly for what it is? an opportunity to either work through past issues or move forward in a different direction. Your expectations shape how you'll react and ultimately how you'll feel afterward. In sum, self-evaluation in this context is a comprehensive, multi-layered process. It requires you to reflect not just on the situation at hand, but on the relationship as a whole, the patterns, the emotional dynamics, the changes, and the reasons behind the silence. It allows you to understand not only what you want, but what you need from the relationship, and whether this reemergence aligns with your long-term emotional well-being. Without this level of introspection, your decisions may be impulsive or reactionary based solely on what you hope the outcome could be, rather than what is truly in your best interest. The importance of clarity of intentions cannot be overstated when someone reaches out after a period of silence. Often, in the rush of emotions, we may overlook the need for clear communication, but this is precisely what will shape the future of the relationship. If you are to respond to this person, whether you choose to reconnect or not, it is vital to ensure that your intentions, both yours and theirs, are explicitly communicated. Without this clarity, both parties may end up confused or misaligned in expectations, leading to more emotional strain rather than resolution. Clear communication allows both individuals to understand the purpose of the outreach and what they want moving forward. It ensures that there are no mixed signals, no misunderstandings, and no unwarranted assumptions about where the relationship is headed. Without clarity of intentions, there's a high risk of repeating past mistakes or falling back into unhealthy patterns. So whether you're open to reconnecting, need closure, or are simply not ready to revisit the relationship, making sure that your intentions are clearly expressed ensures that both parties understand what's at stake. Emotional control is often one of the most difficult skills to master when faced with situations that trigger strong feelings, especially in relationships. When someone who has been silent suddenly reaches out to you, the emotional response can be overwhelming. The silence itself may have caused confusion, hurt, or even a sense of abandonment. And now, with their return, your emotions can swing from anger to hope, from frustration to excitement. However, responding impulsively or out of intense emotion can often lead to regret and miscommunication. Learning to control your emotions in this situation is crucial for maintaining clarity, ensuring that your response aligns with your true desires, and protecting your emotional well-being in the long run. The first step in emotional control is acknowledging and naming your feelings. When you receive that unexpected message, you may feel the urge to react immediately. Before doing so, take a moment to check in with yourself. What emotions are surfacing? Are you feeling hurt, betrayed, or relieved? Are you excited about the potential of reconnecting, or are you filled with anger and resentment? Naming your emotions gives you the opportunity to step back and separate your feelings from your response. By acknowledging what you are feeling without judgment, you give yourself the space to respond thoughtfully, not out of reaction. This moment of emotional awareness can be transformative. It helps you pause and put distance between your immediate impulses and your final response. Once you've acknowledged your emotions, emotional control allows you to separate your past experiences from your present reaction. Silence from someone can often trigger old wounds, reminding you of past hurts or unresolved issues. It's easy to assume that the past will repeat itself, and that can cause your emotions to cloud your judgment. However, emotional control means being aware that just because you've been hurt before doesn't mean you will be hurt again in the same way. The situation you're facing now may be different, and you can't allow the past